Good evening. I'd like to call the public hearing for the December 4th referendum to order. And please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Clark, could you please call the roll? Here. Pastor Williams is here.
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 Distraction.
Now we'll proceed with a presentation by Mr. Tuttle.
Now, I will be speaking on behalf of the
thank you.
referendum. Good evening, members of the Board of Education, President Perino, and community members, teacher staff of our school district. Tonight is a very important night in terms of the public hearing regarding a very important date. December the 4th is our referendum vote on the project on capital projects that we've been talking about for the last several months. Once again, the total budget that's being asked of the public to vote on is $34,880,000. We have several different projects regarding this particular referendum, starting at the two schools on County Route 78. Maple Hill and Monhegan both need extensive repair work, as we described, not only in our presentations at the board meeting, but we have a full-page explanation that's uploaded to our website, and by Monday or Tuesday, the latest of this upcoming week, the entire district will receive in the mail the explanations, the insert that I'm referring to that's up on the website, explaining in detail the purpose and rationale and the cost of all of these projects. Basically, as I mentioned a moment ago, the two major projects at Maple Hill and Monhegan is to do extensive roof repair. The work at Maple Hill is over $9 million, and the work at Monhegan is over $8 million, almost half of the cost of the total project. Why is it necessary to have such an extensive work on the roofs that, for those buildings, quite frankly, are not very old, 21 years of age? They opened in September 1997. However, over the course of the years, some of the work was not done properly in its entirety in terms of flashing, and that's the metal that butts up and keeps moisture out of the building between the roof lines and the cement or stone work. As a result of that, the moisture has leaked into the building, causing damage, as we know water leaks always seem to do. Also, they will be repairing the shell of the roof, the metal pieces that have deteriorated and causing a great deal of damage inside as well as outside to that building. As far as outside, the ice is forming on top of both of those buildings, falling down, packing in front of exit doors and entrance doors, which cause a great deal of safety issues for all of us, as well as the proper installation that's needed in there to prevent this from happening again. The project in both of those buildings are so extensive that it will have to be done, obviously, if we get a positive vote, to do this work over the course of 2 summers, because there's no way that this work could be done during the time in which students and staff are in that building when school is in session. And the project is so extensive that it cannot be done within an 8-week or 9-week period during one summer. So the plan is to do half of the project in each of the 2 buildings, button up that roof for September of the 2 summers that need to have this done, and then in the September following, the remainder of the work will be done. Also, there's that small garage there that needs some roofing, which is about $140,000 of work and replacement there. But we get to the other pieces and components to this referendum. Twin Towers. That building, that beautiful edifice that stands on Grand Avenue, was built as a WPA project, Work Progress Administration, under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, to get us one step outside of depression. And that building is 78 years old, as I believe the first students entered that building in 1940. The fact of the matter is that the stonework there needs extensive repair work, as some of the facade of the stonework is lifting away from the bricks and cinder blocks. Moisture getting in there, causing extensive damage to that building and bringing moisture into that building, which we all know is not something anyone would want to experience. And that the masonry work and restoration at Twin Towers and roofing flashing there also is totaling almost $3,700,000 and change, as you can see behind me. That brings us to the work, $13.5 million at the high school. And why is it necessary to have an addition, media center, and TV production center at the high school? Right now, as we speak, we have about 2,200 students. A demographer who has been very accurate over the last several years in predicting what would be the anticipated enrollment through our ensuing school years. In 3 years, we're predicting to have up to 2,500 students. And as we speak right now, today, there is a problem with accommodating the 5 lunch periods that exist right now with all of the students to feed them in a proper environment and in a timely fashion as well. In some of the lunch periods, the lines are so long that some of the students become disheartened and leave and do not eat, and that is a concern for all of us. Right now, there are 5 lunch periods, beginning at 9:52 at the high school, and the last lunch period ends at 1:33. We cannot add another lunch period before 9:52 because most of the periods are about 45, 46 minutes, which would mean that we would start lunch about 9:15, which obviously is just coming from the heels of breakfast. We cannot have a lunch period at the end of the day because that would bring us about 4 or 5 minutes before dismissal if we started at 1:35 in the afternoon and going to 2:15 or so, when the fact of the matter is students end that program at 2:20. Therefore, we had to find an alternate location to accommodate the increasing enrollment and the existing enrollment at this time. Therefore, we went to talk to the architects about the possibility of what we could do to alleviate this major concern at the high school. We decided to repurpose the current media center to an auxiliary cafeteria, if you will, that has many amenities beyond just feeding students. Students will be able to get a quick bite in there. There'll be a variety of different choices for the children, but then they'll also have workspaces in there in a quiet area, very similar to what we see that's going on in many of the coffee shops that are going around in our country, where students really aspire to work in quiet places and eat at the same time. So by repurposing that room, begs the question, how are we going to have a media center in a building up to 2,500 students? Therefore, we have really utilized creatively the last available space on this campus to build an additional separate media center along with a television production center for not only for the students, but for community use as well. The building is projected to be designed so that it's a standalone. In other words, we can confine the times. Students obviously will be getting there through a covered hallway during the day. But we can keep this building, and we are planning to do just that, keep the building open past school hours, and also talk about the possibility, which is very exciting as we really start to think this through, of opening this building to the community, not only beyond school hours to the early evenings, but also on Saturdays, where we can have story hours, community events in there, speakers, and a quiet time for many of our students who work on Saturdays up and down 211 in establishments. And therefore, they can come in, do some work in the morning, and then go to work, or if we open it up later in the afternoons to like 2 or 3 o'clock, they do a morning shift and come in to do the work. And one might ask, will the students really do that? Well, right behind me is one of our 2 collaborative rooms, and that room right now is open until 6 o'clock each evening, and we're averaging anywhere between 100 and 125 students daily in this room here, working with teachers, receiving extra enrichment or reinforcement, or just a quiet time to do the work before they go to work, so they could do some of their schoolwork projects. It's been very, very positively received by students and parents alike, and we're thinking about doing something similar to that with this new media center. So in all, the $880 million is quite a bit of money. There's no question about that. $35 million just about. So how are we going to pay for this as a school district? Certainly that begs the question, who is going to fund all of this? Well, I have here Dr. Johnson in the audience here, waiting to see that I say the same thing over and over again.
Your time is determined.
In which I will explain the funding streams to take care of this project. This project will be no additional cost to the taxpayer as a result of this project. There are many factors that increase our school taxes, but this will not be one of them. Equalization rates, values of homes, et cetera, impact that as a taxing entities beyond just the school district, your town of Walk Hill, city of Middletown, et cetera, no matter where you live. However, this project, this $35 million referendum, will not be any increase to the school taxes, will not result in any increase as a result of this work. Over $30 million of this $35 million will come in state aid. Remember, we will borrow money over 20 years. Yes, when you borrow money, interest costs, and the fact that from the aid we receive to the interest we have to pay out over 20 years will still be more than we have to pay back the state on this money, or the bonds, I'm sorry, not the state, but the bonds in which we received to float the remainder of this money. Also, we have put money aside in our capital projects. There's been a lot of discussion about do we overtax our people? We certainly do not. But we have to prepare for the future. We have to prepare for the unknown. And just like our home accounts, we do that through a savings account. And this capital project, we have over $10 million to set aside to this project. So the fact of the matter is, the money that's set aside for this $10 million in our capitals project, also there was discussion 2 years ago of a $2.2 million to set aside to do some renovating in the front of the lobby of the library. Well, this project will include that renovation, and that money's put toward this project. So the $10 million of our capital projects account, also the $2.2 million, and we usually set aside about $5.5 million out of our annual budget to these type of activities, which would mean, in essence, no cost to the taxpayer as a result of this referendum. So December 4th is the referendum night. Please remember that we have 3 places in which you can vote for school budgets, referendums, and electing school board officials. One is Presidential Park Elementary School. The other one is Truman Moon Annex, right, over there on Bedford Ave. And the high school, this building that we are tonight broadcasting from. Now, we made a major change based upon the feedback of our constituents asking what could we do about Twin Towers polling place, voting place. As a result of that feedback, we have decided that it would be more convenient and accessible for people, all who have previously over the last several years voting at Twin Towers now can vote here. So the 3 polling places will be voting places for people to vote for school budgets, elected officials, and referendums like December the 4th, and Super Tuesday in May on the school annual budget and election of officials will be here at the high school, Presidential Park Elementary, and Truman Moon. So all those individuals in our community, our friends who have previously voted at Twin Towers, now will vote here. It'll be easy, accessible with parking, be easy for ambulation issues, will seem to go away. So we will keep notifying people of that change. We have mailed out cards to that effect. Everyone received in the mailer about that. We have it on the website. So, December 4th is the referendum. I hope you come out and vote, exercise your right to vote. If you have any further questions, anything you want to ask, please do not hesitate to call me. My number's listed, 326-1155, and we'll be more than pleased to answer any and all of your questions regarding this referendum.
Thank you, Mr. Delmore, for a very clear and concise presentation. We've had this before, but it does not hurt repeating it once again. Now we'll proceed to the public comments on the referendum. Any takers on this? You can come right down here if you like, or whatever you want to do.
Three things. Number one, not in the distant past, there was a spirited conversation about reserve spending and reserve putting things away. And I hope that people that led that spirited conversation are listening closely to where that money's going today. Secondly, with respect to your observation of how many kids stay in this building till 6 o'clock, there's been a sidebar conversation ever since I could remember about extended day and extended school year in this country, and that 6 times 182 may not really do it. And if we're nudging in that direction in informal capacity, I think that's a great thing. Thirdly, with respect to your presentation and speaking as your liaison to the city, I want to compliment you on a precise and professional preparation, especially for a rookie who's doing this for the first time. That's come across very well. I have taken the initiative to provide your PowerPoints through the cooperation of Mr. Tuttle and your rendering of the extension to the members of the council. Although there has been no formal discussion at the council on this topic, I think I am on safe ground to say that we support it, and we will speak positively about it as the voting day approaches. Thank you for your kind cooperation.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for your comments. Now I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn the public hearing and proceed to the regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now I'd like to call to order the November 15th, 2018 regular meeting of the Middletown Board of Education. Mr. Pierre, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Thank you, Mr. Pierre.
You're welcome, Mr. President.
Mission of the Enlarged City School District. Mr. Gomez is not here tonight, so I will read the mission. We strive to provide fiscally sound educational opportunities in a safe environment that continuously supports our diverse student population. We will enable all students to graduate, to reach their full potential, to become lifelong learners, and to be competitive, productive members of society. Thank you. Mrs. Clark, you want to call the roll, please?
Here.
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 Approve of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Motion to approve the regular minutes of November 1st, 2018. Motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Personnel action items, approval of personnel memorandum 11A administrative. Motion to approve Personnel Memorandum 11A Administrative as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Mr. Del Moro, could you please, or Mrs. Creedon, could you please just go over that very briefly? The administrative component.
Sure. 11A includes an interim administrator to cover Maple Hills Annex at Truman Moon, while Nicole Tagney, who's the acting administrator, will be out on FMLA. This is a retired, longstanding retired administrator from our neighboring district, Newburgh City School District. So she has tremendous experience with our population and is equally enthusiastic to join our team. So that's Maritza Ramos that will be joining us beginning tomorrow.
Thank you, and I take it the person will be at a future meeting to be introduced. Thank
Yes, she is. We asked her not to come tonight because of the inclement weather, but she will come at the next opportunity on December 5th.
Thank you. Any discussion on this? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. If there's no objection, we will approve personal memorandums, 11B instructional, 11C non-instructional, 11D instructional, and 11E non-instructional. A motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second on that? Okay, thank you. Any discussion? We've had this, remember? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Opportunity to address the board. Any takers on this? Thank you so much, and thank you for the comments in the public hearing, Dr. Johnson. Action items, approval of financial memorandum number 11, which we've had. Motion to approve 11 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Motion to approve special service memorandum number 10 as presented.
So moved.
Second on that.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Before we adjourn the meeting, remember, the next meeting is Wednesday, December 5th, and the vote is Tuesday, December 4th. And everyone in our viewing area, have a very happy Thanksgiving. Now I'll call for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second on that.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for coming out in this weather, everyone.